And I guess that is the question. Were comic books on net? I would love to know what the audience thinks. If you're watching this live or you're looking at this after the fact on a segment. Can we make the argument that things have changed for the worse as more money and more investment has happened on net, right? Because you can accept that there's been a decent movie come out here and there. You've seen the growth of like the last 10 years, no matter where you think that it's going. The growth of the last 10 years of Marvel Cinematic Universe has been something to watch. But on net, like on net, like if we looked at it like, okay, on the scale of positive versus negative, has it tipped towards the positive when we talk about comic books in general? And in that I include their live action adaptations. I think it's you can make the argument that on net it's got worse. Have there been investments in things that we otherwise would not have got because of it crossing into the mainstream? You can make that argument. And I would say just yes. Yes, you've gotten a good game maybe or two. You've gotten a decent movie or two that you probably just simply don't get in if it wasn't crossing into the mainstream. But also we've gotten the absolute destruction of certain characters. We've gotten people that have no business being near these characters, writing these characters, now writing them in the books. It was one thing when they was just sticking it to Hollywood. Now they're actually writing books. Ta-Nehisi Coates gets brought in over this last decade to write both Black Panther and Captain America. He had no business being near any of those projects, and he's obviously responsible for giving us the worst run of Black Panther that we've ever got in that intergalactic Wakanda bullshit. So, yeah, we've talked about before, my position, for example, changing on the need for or the importance of gatekeeping, meaning that I didn't care. It was more of I was just kind of, I didn't care, more nonchalant about it. Now I'm like, maybe it was probably necessary. But was it a mistake? Was it worth losing the movies that we're going to get and the games and everything else that comes associated with that, with its popularity rising? Was that worth? Maybe it's and I don't want to get caught into the whys or the reasons as far as not, what era that we're in. Like, yeah, of course, we're in an odd era, right? Where everybody's prioritizing things that like social justice lecturing, you really using these things as, the great Stan Lee once said that, he put social issues underlaying the plot, but never did he feel like or want the reader to feel like he was being beat over the head. And that has obviously been lost sight of. They don't give a fuck about that. They'll beat you over the head numerous times with their social preferences and issues, things that they care about. So on net, was it a positive or a negative? And I think it was a net negative. Because just as maybe we get a decent movie or two, you get your little Avengers, we also got Captain Marvel, which saw and facilitated the absolute destruction of Marvel. I mean, the most criminal thing that I've maybe ever seen in a movie when it comes to a live action adaptation. What they did to Marvel, where they basically said, you're not Marvel at all. We're going to name her what they name her instead of, they named her Wendy. I don't remember what they named her, but it's you gender swapped her. And then it's not even like important, right? Just a person who died that maybe, God forbid, Carol Danvers actually look up to a fucking man. Nonetheless, it's not even Marvel. Something that was so important. I mean, it's literally the first big battle that you got of any character when it came to, I know he first appeared in Iron Man, but the first battle, that was all set up in Iron Man for Captain Marvel. But Captain Marvel is the first person to really get in a big battle with Thanos. And they said, you know what? Fuck Marvel. One of the most criminal things I've ever seen in comic books. I would have rather not seen that shit than got a movie or two that was decent. I would have rather not seen that. I would have rather not had insane people now writing books, because hell, a lot of them are writing books to have them adapted in live action depictions. And now, because, people that had no interest in really comic books, or they knew, maybe watched the animation or two, know of the character, because some of these characters are larger than life, Batman, Superman, they're to be associated with American culture, just regardless if people know who Batman and Superman are, having never picked up a book. But now these people will get to control the direction of what they go in, because it's popular and they want a hold of it. They're vanity projects, effectively. So, yeah, I don't think it was worth getting that. It crossing into mainstream. Maybe it was more preferable when people saw Blade. But a lot of people, definitely back then, they didn't even know Blade was a Marvel character. I would say that was more preferable to whatever the fuck we have right now, which is a bunch of crazy ass fucking people who unfortunately get to control, like I said, the direction in which where these people are going with these characters that you guys grew up on. And I know it is not at all exclusive. It's really geek culture in general. Shit that people used to get made fun of. Now people run around and bragging about them being a part of this shit. I know some of y'all probably went to school with people who participated in that shit, and now all of a sudden they act like they the biggest fans and shit. I know it's a sight to behold. It really is. But on net, maybe it was not a positive. Maybe it was a negative, and maybe it should have never went mainstream. And maybe it was worth sacrificing, having not seen the big investment in some of these extravagant projects that we do love. Because what we do is re-risk what we have right now, and that is insane people running the asylum, books that are absolute dog shit, live action adaptations that have absolutely nothing to do with the character, because they're catering to fucking weirdos who say, mantle, it's a mantle, it's a mantle. It's a different universe. It can't be exactly like the comics. It's a different universe. Which means they can make the character not look or act anything fucking like they're supposed to, because it's a different universe. Reimagining it. Oh, man, those bozos and their boring ass fucking arguments. Yeah, I could have done without that. I could have done without it. So what'd you think? You let me know. Were comics crossing in the mainstream a fucking mistake? I think there's an argument to be made that it absolutely fucking was. You just watched a clip from my podcast, For Canon's Sake. Catch us live at 12 p.m. throughout the week over at youtube.com/YoungRipper59 and follow us over at odyssey.com/@YoungRipper59. If you want to watch the entire video cast after the show is over, just be sure to become a member on the YouTube channel. Of course, the full audio portion of the podcast is available for free on all major digital platforms, or just visit forcanonsake.com.